This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Governor Gavin Newsom is streaming live every day at noon to provide an update to the coronavirus crisis here in our state. Now, today he will be talking about the state's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we will bring him to you as soon as he becomes available. Well, now to the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. Another person has died to COVID-19. That is the 5th death reported in the last 2 weeks and the 8th overall. There are 948 confirmed cases. Most of those infected have recovered. 27 are in the hospital. 6,700 tests have come back negative, and the department is waiting on results for 3,800 others. Now, that's the highest number we've seen since testing began. Public health officials note the high number of pending tests may be because it takes longer to confirm a negative result than a positive. Well, now taking a look at where those cases spread across Kern County, 112 cases are in the Valley, 271 in Bakersfield West, 514 in Bakersfield East, 23 in the mountains, and 19 in the desert regions. Well, local urgent care is now offering antibody testing for COVID-19. Priority urgent care is rolling out the testing for anyone who wants it today. Director Dr. Kern Lowen says the test specifically is 96.6% accurate. All 4 locations are offering the test, and the Callaway location will reopen on Monday. Dr. Lowen says it is covered by insurance, but copay still applies. Well, now to push to get Governor Gavin Newsom to allow local governments to reopen their economies if they find it safe to do so. 5 local officials joined State Senator Shannon Grove in signing a letter asking the governor to modify the stay-at-home orders. Those who signed the letter include Taft Mayor David Knorr, the Kern County Supervisors Mick Gleason, Zach Shrivner, Mike Maggard, and David Couch. In it, Grove says a strategy that works for cities in Kern County won't be ideal for Los Angeles or San Francisco. Adding local government should have the flexibility and discretion to navigate reopening stages in a timeline that works best for the communities. Today, dozens of people stood outside the Liberty Bell to protest the stay-at-home orders. They waved flags and held signs. They're calling on the stay-at-home orders to lift, saying people need to go back to work to get the economy going again. One organizer, Susan Adams, says the order is unconstitutional, and by enacting it, Governor Newsom is breaking the law.
We are Americans. We are citizens of the United States, and you cannot come down on our freedom like that. We have rights.
Adams says she believes our local leaders in Kern County agree with their cause, and they want to see their county reopen too. And people living in Lake Isabella want visitors to stay out. They're holding a car protest rally tonight. Last weekend, the warmer weather brought a lot of people to the lake to cool off. People say the visitors clogged up their grocery stores and ignored social distancing rules and put Lake Isabella's most vulnerable residents at risk. Now, according to a Facebook post, the rally is tonight at 8. The library protesters will then drive to the auxiliary dam. You are asked to not get outside of your vehicle. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kevin Shred, and we are at the SPCA, and today is Unleash Your Love. We couldn't be at Compassion Corners, so I have come here to the SPCA. We are practicing social distancing. I've got Julie Johnson with me, and we've got our microphone right here in the middle. So if it sounds a little hollow, it's because we're sharing this microphone, doing our best. But today's such an important day, Julie, to really support the SPCA. Talk a little bit about it.
Right. So like you said, today is our virtual fundraiser, basically. And our nursery really fell apart about a year ago, and there was no bringing it back. It just wasn't savable. And so we know there's a huge need in the community for kittens, for vulnerable moms and kittens and moms and puppies to have a safe place. And regular kennels are just not good for that. And so we are trying to rebuild our nursery, this time with actual plumbing and actual good lighting and air exchange and all of that, to really help some of the more vulnerable animals in our community. We can't do it without the community support. We did get this wonderful matching grant from the Virginia and Alfred Harrell Foundation that just jump-started us with $50,000. We raised some money at Furry Paws Foggy Nights that you were at. We raised $13,000 there towards this nursery, and so we got to get that all the way to $50,000. So we have $50,000. We raised $13,000. We've got about $5,700 right now. So we've got about another $30,000 we got to raise, and we're hoping we can do it with community support.
So we've raised $5,700 so far as of this point, and I'm going to add $1,000 to that right now.
Oh my gosh!
And this is from our partners at Dignity Health.
Oh wow!
So there's $1,000.
That's amazing.
That puts us over $6,000
yes,
now.
It
so
sure
that's
does.
Great news. And as you know, Dignity Health helps us with Compassion Corner,
right?
And so they wanted to do their part. So there's $1,000 to add to our total today, but we need your help as well. And if you go to kget.com, you'll see a bar at the top of our website. You click that, and it'll give you many options that you can donate as we go throughout today. We've got much more coming up, but let's also get to our forecast as well. It is a beautiful day out there. As I was driving over to the SPCA, it was just glorious. 74 degrees in Bakersfield right now, and we've got a light wind out of the north at 8 miles per hour. As we take a look at the overall forecast for today, you can see temperatures are starting to climb right near 70 in Delano right now, 74 in Taft. And then we've got 60s into the mountains. As we take a look at today, a high of 81 in Bakersfield, 83 in Buttonwillow, 79 in Maricopa for the mountains in the Kern Valley. Sunny skies and 67 in Fraser Park, 63 in Bear Valley, 70s for the Kern River Valley. Lake Isabel at 75, and then for the desert, today sunny, a little bit on the windy side, and a high of 78 in Mojave. Here's your extended forecast. And tomorrow, 82, lower 80s all weekend long. We will see a little warm up next week. By Thursday, right near 89. And then for the mountains, 60s through Monday, 70s return by Tuesday, Wednesday, near 80 on Thursday. And then for the Kern River Valley, also great weekend ahead, a little breezy through tomorrow. We keep you in the 70s through Monday, and then the 80s will return on Tuesday. So overall, a great weekend forecast. We'll be right back.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Now to the economy and the dismal unemployment numbers. Another 3.8 million jobless claims were filed last week, and many others say they aren't even able to file for benefits. We'll do the math, and the numbers are painful. A stunning 18% of the U.S. workforce is out of work, and the layoffs keep coming. NBC's Jo Ling Kent reports.
This is my first time researching unemployment.
Over the past 6 weeks, more than 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment, with some economists predicting the actual number of people out of work may be far greater.
I have to wait for emails to tell me if I'm approved or denied.
Many who have lost jobs still haven't been able to complete unemployment applications because of outdated state computer systems crippled by the overwhelming demand.
They haven't helped me at all. It's been an absolute disaster.
Dave Kramer is one of about 150,000 Floridians whose job depends on the cruise industry. He says he filed for unemployment on March 28th. This week, his application was denied. In Florida, more than 266,000 claims filed since March 15th have been rejected. That's nearly 40%. But the state has not explained why this is happening, only telling workers to apply again.
You see all these news conferences, how they're going to help us, how they're going to be here for small business. But the only thing I've been seeing is big business being helped out.
In Glendale, California, the iconic Alex Theater has been closed since March 19th. All of its events canceled through July.
We're working essentially as volunteers to keep the balls in the air.
They've attempted to get a Paycheck Protection Program loan several times, but nothing has come through yet.
Do you need that PPP money to survive?
We certainly do. We'd love to bring our staff back. We have a lot of work that can be done, but it takes people. It takes their skills, it takes their talents, and of course their time, and they need to be paid for that.
And with rent due on this first day of the month, thousands are planning a national rent strike today.
I lost my job due to COVID-19. I was not able to pay my rent in April. I feel very stressed, worried, and at times scared.
Tenants are calling on governors to cancel rent and mortgage payments altogether. A third of renters were not able to pay on time last month. The pain of this economic emergency showing no signs of easing.
Well, the Kern County Sheriff's Office is investigating an in-custody death. This all started at a home on Park Meadows Drive near the Bakersfield Airport. Deputies were called there around 11 o'clock last night for a domestic violence incident involving a man who was armed. Deputies say the suspect refused to comply with their orders and they had to use force to bring him to custody. They say the man was evaluated by a medical team and a short time later he began having complications. Deputies say he was declared dead at the scene. They said they are not sure how the suspect was hurt. Down of Kern County COVID cases by gender, race, or even by city, and we've been constantly asking Kern Public Health about when we might get that information.
We take the guidance set by the state very seriously. We follow and we choose to follow the state guidelines on this and HIPAA. Locally, we are referring you, of course, to the California Department of Public Health.
The issue of geography is especially important as the county looks to reopen. The mayor of Taft has already tried to do so. The federal guidelines for reopening require cities have to have a declining number of cases for 2 weeks, but without knowing how many cases there are in each city, we can't do that.
We are hopeful that there will be a more detailed release of geographical information in particular that we are able to report and make public next week.
Now we will continue to follow up with Kern Public Health each day for the latest updates. And Bakersfield annual fireworks show may not be canceled after all. Yesterday morning in the city of Bakersfield said it was canceling the Independence Day celebration at the park at Riverwalk. The city said the event takes months to plan and the future of coronavirus is still uncertain. But then later in the afternoon, the city sent an updated news release. It said the decision was premature and that it is committed to celebrating the 4th of July to whatever extent is possible. A city spokesman could not say more on how that celebration could happen. And today's the big day to unleash your love. We're teaming up with the SPCA for a fundraiser. Now, we can't visit Compassion Corner right now, but the SPCA is hoping to raise $50,000 to build a new nursery for puppies and kittens. Now, you can find a link to donate on our website, KGET.com. Stay with us. We're back after this. We now do have Governor Newsom. Let's take it over to him and hear what he has to say.
Known as International Workers' Day. And we want to just pause and reflect and thank our essential workers out there on the front lines, not just our healthcare workers who have done magnificent job, our first responders, police and fire, but also those on the front lines like our grocers, farm workers and others that are making sure that our essential needs are met at this very important moment. It's right to pause and reflect and thank each and every one of them. It's also appropriate that we pause and reflect on the economic dislocation that millions and millions of Californians have suffered, and the need to do everything in our power to make sure that their immediate needs are attended to, and that we move aggressively but thoughtfully and strategically with a health-first mindset to reopening the economy at peril of the economic conditions exacerbating. And so I want to just begin today not only to acknowledge those workers, but just to remind you a little bit about what we've been doing for both essential workers and for those that have been displaced. We talked yesterday about a new portal for childcare, but again, you can't talk about the workforce, those needs of essential workers, and those that are active and searching for job opportunities that have been displaced without talking about the need to take care of their children. Some 20,000 vouchers have been set aside in our efforts to address the child care needs of thousands and thousands of critical frontline employees. We also put that site up that identifies over 28,000 slots that are available today. If you go to that site on covid19.ca.gov, you can just type in your zip code and you can see a number of licensed facilities in and around your community with available slots and information about health and safety and quality assessments that our team has put together. But childcare has been foundational, and we've got more work to do in that space. We'll have more resources to invest in that space coming from the federal government, some $350 million that we'll be working with the legislature to distribute as quickly as we can. But again, very grateful for the work at the Department of Social Services and their emphasis and focus on child care in this state. Accordingly, we focused on sick leave. There was a gap with the Federal CARES Act as it relates to sick leave or subsequent acts of Congress as it related to sick leave, protecting smaller employers and employees, which was critical. But we wanted to make sure that those in the food chain, from our farm workers to those that are packing, those that are preparing, those that are distributing, those that are there in the front lines in our grocery store, larger employers also had sick leave protection, those employees getting that protection. And so that's something else we're very proud we were able to advance an agreement in that space. And again, just want to applaud the Grocers Association working with UFCW, one of the largest grocers union in the United States, for their outstanding willingness to contribute and put aside their differences and contribute to the needs of these critical employees. We also announced a series of other things that we wanted to do for our frontline healthcare workers, care for caregivers. You recall a few weeks back we announced efforts to provide stipends for these caregivers, people at skilled nursing facilities that were spending the night in their cars because they were scared of going home and potentially contaminating or infecting their community or their household. We wanted to address through stipends their needs to address just day-to-day necessities. And we have already been able to distribute some 36,000 stipends in that program. We have the capacity to do up to 50,000, and we have more people signing up every single day. But over 36,000 stipends have been distributed just in that program alone. And that, again, was in partnership with philanthropy. And we're very grateful the private sector stepped up and helped supported those efforts. Accordingly, those individuals that were spending the night in their cars, many of them no longer are, because we've been able to book over 78,000 room nights, 78,000 room nights, free or deeply discounted hotel rooms for our caregivers, for our frontline workers across the spectrum in the healthcare delivery system. We're very proud of that. Thousands and thousands of individuals being able to take a shower, isolate in a room, go back to work, come back, and just have a place they can call their home their own before they get home and back into their communities. And that program's really just taken off and has really delivered on the promise that we promoted. I recognize we can always do more, and we're trying to do more still, but over 78,000 room nights is a wonderful start. The program just started ramping up a few weeks back. We've also been pushing a series of other efforts to take care of people, particularly in our skilled nursing facilities, working with caregivers, with our IHSS workers as well. We've been doing these wellness checks, not just at SNFs, but in the IHSS system. We've been able to do 173,000 wellness checks. We made some agreements with some of our largest unions in the state to allow additional resources to provide that additional attention to vulnerable Californians that are in and part of the in-home supportive service program, which is really the backbone of keeping people at home so they can live in dignity and live in place so they don't have to end up in our adult facilities, our assisted living facilities, in some cases, even our SNFs. And so that was a foundational principle and effort, and I'm very pleased by the incredible work of those teams of people all up and down the state to be able to check in on 177,000 people. We talked about augmenting the workforce, and we had some remarkable numbers. This Health Corps announcement we made a number of weeks back, it was all around focusing on the surge. Remember, we talked about the surge and the need not just to find physical beds, alternative care sites to hospitals and the like, but enough PPE, which I'll get to in a moment, and enough personnel that we can surge in to help support those alternative care sites. We had a universe that was quite large of a potential group. We, fortunately, to this date, haven't needed them. Tens of thousands of people filled out applications on the site. I mentioned a few weeks back, some of them were duplicates. Some of them didn't necessarily work to meet our needs. But there are hundreds and hundreds of people that were hired through that health core effort. And I just want to acknowledge their incredible work. We primarily focused on the skilled nursing facilities. We have, just as an example, this is a modest example, but impactful example. We've been talking about these strike teams, these efforts on infection control in our skilled nursing facilities. We have, through that Health Corps website, been able to identify, just in Southern California, 87 individuals that just came off that site that are part of our strike teams and our surge workforce in our skilled nursing facilities in Southern California, 78 in Northern California, additional 35 that have been pre-deployed in and around the Richmond area in the San Francisco Bay Area. All, again, part of that program of people being plugged in through that Health Corps site. If we need more people, we'll access more people. Tens of thousands of people applied. Not everybody fits a need or appropriately applied, but the reality is that response was overwhelming and humbling, and it may be critical moving forward that we, as we begin to toggle back and make meaningful augmentations to our stay-at-home order, if we do start to see some community spread and we start to see the numbers grow, having the physical assets in place already and having this work group that we're still vetting will provide an incredibly important resource for us if that personnel is needed. I mentioned PPE. It's always important to remind people of PPE because that's a workers' safety issue and goes deep to the spirit of May Day, International Workers' Day. We got to protect these frontline employees, not just provide paid sick leave and stipends and hotel rooms and make sure that we have a health corps that can help support the most vulnerable, but also make sure that we have their protective gear. We are really pleased. This week, I announced earlier this week, we got 3.1 million new surgical masks that came in from overseas. Just in the last 48 hours, there's been 2 additional flights that have made it to the state of California. On board was 5.1 million additional units of surgical masks. We were able to get 5.2, forgive me, we were able to get 5.1 million of them distributed just in the last 24 hours. So 5.2 million came in, 5.1 million went out. This in addition to the 3.1 million earlier in this week. So 8+ million new masks, just like that in a few days. Those flights coming in, part of that larger contract that we talked about. It's very encouraging. By the way, those were supposed to come in starting May 1st. The fact that they've already come in is a very encouraging sign. And as I said, as soon as they come in, we try to get these things out. I recognize N95s are a big part of the future orders coming in, and we have responsibilities for gloves and shields and gowns and all the rest of the protective gear that is also important, not only for our essential workforce, but to broaden as we begin to reopen our economy. By the way, just on that, this PPE question, we talk a lot about testing. On Monday, we'll talk about tracing and tracking and isolation, issues of quarantine. I'll update you on our contracts there and our workforce efforts there and some of the technology we'll use to guide those operations. But PPE is fundamental in terms of reopening our economy sooner so that we can make sure when we have new guidelines, those that are coming up organically at the local level or those that we're mandating from the state level, those guidelines always include protective gear that are essential for businesses to reopen and provide customers the option on face coverings as well as providing workers that protection they deserve. PPE is foundational in that. It's just another reason we have to be really deliberative on how we reopen this economy. I know it's May Day, and on May Day every year since my birth, that's a day to express yourself, which I think is a wonderful tradition in this country, and people protesting the status quo, which is also a wonderful point of privilege we have in the United States, and we should celebrate that, and we should thank people for expressing themselves. But that expression, obviously, this year is one of frustration and concern and deeply understandable anxiety about the economy and the fate and future of their families and this state.
You just heard the latest from Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, he is talking about some of the key points that they have seen just and talked about throughout the past week. Child care, sick leave, care for caregivers, wellness checks, health care, PPE equipment. Now, he is just touching on the advancements they have seen, just touching on the PPE, which is what he was just focusing on. He said that they had 3.1 million surgical masks. Well, just this week, 5.2 additional masks came in. They were able to distribute 5.1 of those masks already. Now, he is saying that why they are focusing on PPE so much is it is fundamental in reopening the economy. Now, on Monday, he hinted at that he'll be talking about the tracing and tracking, about all that is going on in order to reopen the economy. Now, he does say that today is May Day and that it is a day that people are protesting, and they are protesting currently right now. He is saying it is a privilege to protest here in America. Now, you can continue watching what Governor Gavin Newsom has to say on our live stream, which is on our Facebook page as well as our website, KGET.com.
This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.